Welcome back to the Voice of Reason, afternoon edition. I'm John Anderson, your host. Very special guest today for the first half of the program, Congressman Ron Paul. He is from the great state of Texas. Second half of the program today, Dr. Robert Boody will be our guest, founder and president of the American Institute for World Peace. He is Syrian. He works with Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, and also as an advisor on the Palestinian negotiating team. Congressman Ron Paul, it is interesting today because we see on television, we hear on radio, we see in the newspaper headlines that our president even seems to be on a messianic mission, if you will, to get the Middle East straightened out. We have Pat Robertson stating that because now Bush is saying we need a Palestinian state, that he is going to be in trouble with God. We have this incredible push, it seems, that theology today, the quote, religious right, is leading America down the road to Holocaust and Armageddon. What's going on, sir?
Well, you know, it makes me just want to emphasize what the founders tried to give us and tried to teach us, and that was to mind our own business and give us no authority in our Constitution to meddle, to get involved in the internal affairs of other nations or get involved in entangling alliances. And some of these issues are theological in nature. But if we truly understand this whole concept of the separation of church and state, we don't go to war because of somebody's religious viewpoint. It's not like the whole country has this religious viewpoint that we have to go to the Middle East and either support Israel or support the Palestinians, one over the other. That's why those are difficult problems, and that's the reason that I like the advice and I like the restraints placed in the Constitution that tells me that I ought not to get involved. And if you would like to, if you support the Palestinians, you can go and send your money. If you like the Jewish state, you can go and support them and send your money. But I see no authority in the Constitution for me to compel you, to tax you, or send your kids to defend either side.
You know, that is a very interesting viewpoint, because most people are certainly one side or the other, and I knew beforehand that you believe that we should mind our own business. But unfortunately, we find people like Senator Jim Inhofe, who stands on the Senate floor and says we must support Israel because that's God's chosen people. It is our mandate to do so. We have very powerful men in Washington, Congressman, that believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that we must support Israel today at all costs. And is this possibly why the Arab world feels they're in a no-win situation because of our Israel First policy?
Well, I think it's one part of it. They ask, why are we attacked, and why do they hate us? Well, if Osama bin Laden made an announcement today that he was going to do something, or if he said, I will take credit for bombing New York, we'd all listen to him and we'd probably believe him. But if he tells us why and why his followers want to do harm to us, we won't listen to him and say, oh, that's not possible, because they're doing it to us because we are good and wonderful and peaceful, and they hate our freedoms and they hate our prosperity. But they claim the reason they attack us is because of our position with Israel, because of our perpetual bombing of Iraq over the 12 years, and because we had troops in Saudi Arabia. Those were the three reasons they gave. And I don't know why we shouldn't believe them. And quite frankly, those three issues fit into the philosophy of non-intervention, because in all three, if you were a strict non-interventionist and strict constitutionalist, we wouldn't have been there. And quite frankly, I don't think we would have been attacked.
Well, if an enemy tells me they're my enemy because of a particular reason, I'm inclined to believe them. But that is not the way that our leaders apparently are looking at this, because when you have very powerful men like Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, who have literally millions daily watching them and following every move they make, when you have Tim LaHaye, 50 million bestseller Left Behind series, Hal Lindsey, Late Great Planet Earth, I mean, these people, and Jack Van Impe recently stated that a person from Condoleezza Rice's office has contacted him to get an outline of what's getting ready to happen in the Middle East. Now, no one can seem to substantiate that one way or the other, but I would find that amazing that we would actually be taking our religious beliefs to this secular environment and imposing it dramatically.
Yeah, I think that's coming close to a violation of at least the thrust of the Constitution, that a religious view should not dictate policy. The policy, the Constitution indicates to me that we have a right to our own personal beliefs, but we don't have a right to impose them. And if their belief is such that it says that we can use compulsion, I think they're noisier than they really represent numbers. In other words, I don't think the Jerry Falwells have the majority of the Christians on their side of the argument. But if they're able to use the force of government and force their views on us, and it's their religious views, I mean, this is not a political view, this is a religious view. And the politics, I think, of this country should be how much freedom we want and admire and should cherish, and how much can we protect. But it should never be used to say that because I have a particular religious view that I can impose that on the people of this country, and therefore our foreign policy will be dictated. I think that's very dangerous.
It really is, and I suppose you're aware that you're on the Jewish Anti-Defamation League list to get voted out of office, apparently because you, on May the 2nd, 2002, did not vote on the bill of the resolution that was going to support Israel. So therefore, you and a whole list of other congressmen, it says, the following is the list of U.S. senators and members of the House of Representatives who voted no on the resolutions of May 2nd, 2002 that supported Israel. It is incumbent upon every American supporter of the state of Israel to work to defeat these individuals when they come up for re-election. This is something that I find amazing.
Yeah, and you know, that was brought up to me the other day. I was talking at a Republican meeting, and somebody brought it up. He may well have been Jewish, and he said, why did I vote against Israel? And, you know, if you read that carefully, it wasn't a vote against Israel. It was a vote to blame the Palestinians for everything. So I explained my position of neutrality, but I further went on to say that, you know, if you have trouble understanding this, why don't you look at this at the issue of how the problem of Kashmir should be settled. We have the Pakistanis have nuclear weapons, and the Indians have nuclear weapons. The Chinese are involved, and it's very, very difficult. For you to say to me that if I support one over the other, then I hate them, I said, doesn't it make a lot of sense to you to decide maybe be neutral on this and not pick one side over the other? And I said, if you think of it in those terms, they're less emotional. Once you get into this argument of the Palestinian versus Israel, it is so high-pitched emotions that, you know, people can't rationally discuss it. So if we're arguing the case for neutrality, which I do and try to do as consistently as possible, it cannot be construed as being against Israel or against the Palestinian or for one or the other. It's for our position of defending this country.
And that's as it should be. In my own humble opinion. By the way, I want to give out your website. Those of you that want to find out where Ron Paul has voted, what initiatives he's brought up, if you go to www.paul2004.com, that's paul2004.com, you will find out where this man stands. And he makes some very good common sense statements. But what I want to bring out is this, Congressman. On exactly what you said, because you were neutral, you have been labeled anti-Semitic because you are not overly emotionally pro-Israel.
That is it. And the administration, and in particular Karl Rove, has already been looking for somebody to run against me in the primary. But I really don't... we have to be ready, and we will be concerned. We will campaign hard. But we just don't think that they have the clout to do that much harm in my district, because I think the people have come around to accepting on principle these arguments that I've made.